Guardians, today we're covering the top 5 builds that every Titan needs in their arsenal. These builds will offer you everything from putting out high boss DPS, ways to obliterate champions, and even ways to swing around like Spider-Man. And that final build, well, let's just say I beat out a double golden gun hunter in a DPS phase. So rally your fellow Guardians, prepare your arsenal, and join us as we unveil the top 5 builds that every Titan needs in Destiny 2. Remember to leave a like if you find this video helpful, and if you like seeing build videos and other Destiny 2 helpful content, consider hitting that subscribe button. With that being said, let's jump right on into it. First up on our list is a build made for any activity that has Void Surge, or if you're just a big fan of Void weapons. With this build, we bring the exotic class item with Spirits of Eternal Warrior and Star Eater. That way, when it comes to boss phases, you can pop your Twilight Arsenal for some massive damage and to weaken the boss. Then pull out your Void weapons that will have a 25% buff for 10 seconds. The cool thing is that we take the power and survivability from normal Prismatic Titan. With Consecration combined with Knockout and Frenzy Blade, we can deal massive damage and heal ourselves in the process. We then bring Facet of Bravery so that we gain access to volatile rounds and unraveling rounds, which is why we bring a strand weapon to then use Facet of Courage and have all of our abilities deal even more damage. To top it all off, we bring Facet of Dominance to give our grenade the ability to jolt targets. Adding it all up, we have increased damage with our super from Facet of Courage and Spirit of Star Eater. We then have increased weapon and ability damage, and will deal more damage from Unravel, Volatile Rounds, and Jolt. So what's the flow for this build? Well, get a powered melee kill and a grenade kill before going into a damage phase to proc both Unravel and Volatile. Then pop your Transcendence, shoot your strand weapon, and throw a grenade to unravel and jolt the boss. Then pop your super to deal some massive damage and cause weaken. Finally, unload your Void Heavy to deal some massive damage to the boss. Twilight Arsenal will be getting a buff soon, so this build will only increase in damage. As for stats, I shoot for 100 in Resilience and Discipline, and then I go for about 70 in Strength. For weapons, you do have plenty of options to work with. I like to bring the Buried Bloodline for an easy way to proc Devour and weaken targets. For the heavy, Edge Transit is perfect to deal a ton of burst damage, but if you don't have a god roll, you could go for something like Leviathan's Breath for a consistent option. And for the artifact, we have a couple that we want to bring. First up, Radiant Orbs, which will give you 25% weapon damage on orb pickup. Then you take Galvanic Armor for 30% damage resistance by getting multi-kills with your grenade or killing with your melee. And of course, we bring both Void, Hegemony, and Expanding Abyss so that we get a Void Overshield when killing weakened targets, and we deal even more damage from Void sources on weakened targets. I know many people grinded for that god roll on Edge Transit and Falling Guillotine, so this build lets you deal some massive damage on any boss with those weapons. I think a lot of people turned away from Strand Titan when they saw that Grapple was getting tuned down and that buff from Banner of War and Synthoceps or Wormgod was getting a nerf. So I decided to try it out and see how it actually felt post-nerf. To my surprise, it actually felt really strong. I think what people forgot was this build was going from absolutely busted numbers to now it still deals a ton of damage even though it got nerfed. The grapple change is specifically for boss encounters, and the nerf to total damage with those exotics is really only felt on bosses. So this build no longer obliterates bosses, but it still does give you and your team massive healing, massive damage resistance, and a ton of fun by flying around and grappling to every tangle. I personally like Wormgod Caress as the better option, but you can absolutely run Synthoceps instead to deal slightly less damage but get that buff for your super. And what's the flow for this build? Well, get a melee kill or finish an enemy to proc Banner of War. With Grapple Melee or Frenzy Blade, you'll create a tangle that you can throw, and by grappling to it, you'll instantly refund your grapple. The main cycle you'll be using is to grapple to any tangle that you create, and in the 20-second cooldown, you can get a normal or a powered melee kill to keep your Wormgod stacks up, which, by the way, also gives you a 35% weapon damage bonus. Between Banner of War healing you, Woven Mail making you take less damage, and that increased weapon damage, you'll be able to wipe out a ton of targets. As for stats, I shoot for 100 in Resilience and Discipline, then I go for about 70 in Strength and Recovery, since I run both a Font of Restoration and Font of Vigor to gain that extra 30 and give me quadruple 100s. There are a few weapons that really help this build become even stronger. The Call is excellent for general ad clearing and can roll with Demolitionist, so you can spam grapple even when you can't create a tangle. Buried Bloodline is also a great option, since you can get Devour, which leads to more grapple melees and instant healing on kills. Or you can take the Navigator, since you can lock down areas by creating a grapple point, so you can spam those grapples over and over. And as for the artifact, there are a couple that you can take. Threaded Blast is pretty fun, but you mainly want to use your Tangles as a grapple point, so it's not really necessary to bring. But you do want to bring Shield Crush. Since you consistently have Woven Mail, you'll be getting 25% more melee damage and recharge rate. The Strand melee build did get a nerf in the final shape, but it still stands strong as one of the best survivability and ad clearing builds in the game. And like with the first build on this list, I wanted to make a build that would deal a ton of boss DPS, but also be really good at ad clearing. So I made a build that focuses on using your abilities constantly. That way, you can use whatever weapons you want. With this build, we take the exotic class item with Spirit of Inmost Light and Star Eater. And if you don't have that role, then you can just use Hoyle instead. With Hoyle, you can use one ability to increase the regen rate of your other two abilities. So we want to use all of our abilities consistently, which is why I'm bringing Dranger's Lash. Now we can use our Barricade to suspend targets, giving us a benefit for using our class ability. Then I bring Diamond Lance to make it so that all of our abilities will create a Diamond Lance that lets us freeze and shatter enemies for even more damage. And since we aren't bringing Knockout for healing, we bring Facet of Purpose and Blessing. That way we can pick up an orb to gain stacks of frost armor. And when we get a melee kill, we'll start our health regen. I love bringing Thunderclap and the Pulse Grenade so that we can deal mass amounts of arc damage, and we can take advantage of Facet of Dominance so the grenades now jolt targets. And we bring Facet of Awakening so that we can spawn elemental pickups on rapid kills. With our arc abilities, that means a ton of Ionic Traces. The crazy thing about this is that since we're taking Spirit of Star Eater and the Stasis Super, we can put out upwards of 2.8 million damage in the right scenario. So what's the flow for this build? Well, the great thing about Hoyle builds is there doesn't have to be a real flow for the build. You can just turn your brain off and spam your abilities. If you want to optimize this build, I would try to spam your grenade and your class ability more often. That way, if you get into trouble, you should have your melee up and ready to spark that health regen. For your stats, I shoot for 100 in resilience and discipline, and then I shoot for about 80 to 90 in strength. You have free reign as far as weapons go, but my favorite loadout is the Critical Anomaly Sniper with Chill Clip, Nullify with Demo and Chaos Reshaped, and Dragon's Breath. That way, your primary gets back a ton of ability energy, health, and damage. Then your special and your heavy will both benefit from Facet of Ruin with more damage and burst size. For the artifact, we want to bring Radiant Orbs for extra weapon damage, Galvanic Armor to consistently take 30% less damage, and Shield Crush to deal more damage and increase our grenade recharge rate. And in Act 2, we can now bring Solar Fulmination for the increased damage and size of ignitions, as well as Sniper's Meditation to deal more damage with snipers. This build will give you the capability to clear a ton of enemies with your abilities, and then deal a ton of damage to bosses with your super and weapons, all while having the flexibility to run whatever weapons you want. Most people know about the Void Peregrine Grief build that can one-shot champions up through GM level content. While I do like this build, I don't love the survivability that you get from it, so I aim to recreate that build, but on Prismatic. While this build doesn't one-shot in GM level content, it does get you really close, so all you have to do is deal a bit of damage before sprinting in with your shoulder charge to wipe out that champion. With Peregrine Greaves, any shoulder charge will deal an extra 225% more damage, but on mini bosses like champions, they'll deal a whopping 1000% more damage. Sadly, with Prismatic, we don't have Shield Bash, which does the most base damage, but we do have Hammer Strike, which is still pretty strong. So we take Knockout to buff the damage with our powered melees by 50%. We then bring Facet of Courage to deal an extra 10% damage to any target with a Darkness debuff. We can now use our Shackle Grenade to suspend, Diamond Lance to freeze, or you can get Rapid Precision hits to sever. All will activate this buff. So the gameplay loop goes like this. Start to weaken the champion to about 80% health. Critically wound an enemy to activate Knockout. Then suspend, freeze, or sever the champ to activate that Darkness debuff. Finally, run for at least 2 seconds and then jump in the air and activate that Hammer Strike to obliterate that champion. In the off chance you didn't deal enough preliminary damage, quickly hit that finisher button to finish them off. And this is also why I run Proximity Ward and Healthy Finisher to keep you alive while you're finishing them. In master level and easier content, you'll simply one-shot that champion, so no need to worry. For stats, I shoot for 100 resilience and discipline, then about 70 in recovery. You should be saving your melee for any champions, which will fully restore it, so there's no need to spec into strength. Bring any weapons that are best for the activity that you're in. I love the pulse rifle from the new raid, which is Nullify, for dealing with barriers since the heavy burst pulses are hitting really hard right now. As for the artifact, I bring Radiant Orbs so that picking up orbs now make you radiant. I then take Shield Crush for consistent increased grenade damage and recharge rate. And finally, I take transference so that while Transcendent, you gain more grenade and melee damage. Plus, you gain more Transcendent energy back for weapon kills. While this build doesn't one-shot like the Void Peregrine Grief build, it does offer you a ton of survivability because you're on Prismatic. And oh boy, did I save the best for last. This build focuses on one thing, putting out as much boss DPS as possible. I was able to put up more damage than a double Golden Gun Hunter. And the crazy thing is that if I wasn't competing against one of the best DPS builds in the game, I would have been able to put out even more damage with how much leftover ammo I had. See, this build takes the best of everything and combines it into one prismatic masterpiece. The first piece of the puzzle is Twilight's Arsenal. This super does some decent damage and will soon be dealing even more damage, but it also weakens the enemy, so your team doesn't necessarily need a tether or tractor, though the weaken is only 15%, so tether is technically stronger. The second piece is Hazardous Propulsions. Now that the bug is fixed, we can use our class ability to shoot up to 6 rockets and deal some decent damage, but more importantly, this gives us a 35% buff to our rockets. So I bring a rocket with reconstruction and explosive light to deal some quick burst damage with my rocket. And the final piece of the puzzle is Still Hunt. Even without Celestial, this thing puts out some massive damage and will be dealing even more damage in Act 2. So what's the flow for the build? Well, when it comes to damage phases, make sure you have 6 rockets loaded before starting the phase. Then throw a grenade to deal damage and proc Jolt. Go Transcendent and throw another grenade. Pop your Golden Gun and immediately pop your super to weaken the boss. Unload the 3 rounds of Still Hunt and then use your class ability to fire those rockets and get that rocket buff, so that you can then shoot off 2 rockets with your heavy. Then finish off the phase by using Still Hunt. And if the damage phase is long, you can use that same rotation, popping Golden Gun on Still Hunt whenever you get it. And when you get back up to 6 rockets, you can use your class ability and shoot off 2 more rockets and just keep repeating that cycle. The great thing is, this cycle sounds more complicated than it actually is. Basically, pop all of your super abilities, shoot your Still Hunt, use that class ability, and then use rockets. Switch back to Still Hunt and finish it off. As for stats, I shoot for 100 resilience. Then I take a mix of strength and discipline, since both are important for this build. Still Hunt and Apex Predator are the best options for a build like this, though if you don't have these, you could run something like Dragon's Breath and a good special DPS weapon like Aramite or the Aikilo Sniper. For the artifact, we bring Radiant Orbs for extra weapon damage, Galvanic Armor to consistently take 30% less damage. We then take Shield Crush to deal more damage and increase the recharge rate of our grenade. And in Act 2, we can now bring Solar Fulmination for increased damage and size of the ignitions we cause, as well as Sniper's Meditation to deal more damage with snipers. And with Still Hunt or any other solar sniper, we can also bring Incendiary Rifle rounds, so that solar sniper precision hits will apply stacks of Scorch, and that will eventually cause an ignition. I love that I now have a build on my Titan that does a good job of ad clearing and keeping me alive, but can also output some massive damage, and in the near future will only be receiving buffs. And there you have it, Guardians. We've covered builds that excel at clearing out a ton of enemies, builds that are meant for boss DPS, and even builds that decimate champions. But I have one question for you. Have you thought to yourself, hey, I have a build that's way better than any of these? Well, soon I'm starting a series that will be showing off viewer builds. Everything from the most busted and meta builds to goofy interactions that give you that spark of joy. If you're interested, there'll be a link to my Discord in the description, where you can submit a build of your own and have a chance to be featured in one of my videos. If you found this video helpful or just enjoyed seeing a new perspective, feel free to like the video and comment down below what builds you've been enjoying most for Titans. Keep an eye out for future videos as we continue to explore the ever-evolving world of Destiny 2. Until then, may the threads of fate be ever in your favor. This is Lucky Mech, signing off. See you on the next adventure, Guardians.